भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। We continue with mantra 22. Mantra 22 reads: Vedai anekaihi ahameva vedyah Vedanta-krit vedavideva chaham na punyapape mama nasti nashaha na janmaddehendriya buddhirasti. Mantra 22. Vedaihi anekaihi ahameva vedyah Vedanta-krit veda videva chaham na punyapape mama nasti nashaha na janmaje dehendriya buddhirasti. I alone am to be known through many Vedas. I am the maker of Vedanta and I alone the knower of Vedas. Merit and demerit are not for me nor death. Birth, body, senses, intellect. The Guru is continuing with the description. The enlightened one is continuing the description. And a very beautiful description here. What he is saying here is, I am to be known through many Vedas. I am the maker of Vedanta. I alone am the knower of Vedas. I am to be known through many Vedas. The subject matter of all Vedas is me. I am the maker of Vedanta, Vedanta-krit. And I only know the Vedas. I am to be known through the Vedas. Only I know the Vedas. I am the maker of Vedanta. Now, what is he saying is, the four Vedas, the subject matter of the four Vedas. The subject matter of the four Vedas is Brahman, truth, reality. That is why we say Vedas, Vedanta as a philosophy is entirely different from what you consider, what people understand as philosophy in general. What people understand philosophy in general is the systems of ethics and morals. That's what is generally considered as philosophy. When we say Vedanta philosophy, you should understand the difference. Vedanta is not a system of philosophy talking about the ethics and morals. Why they do not talk about ethics and morals? Because the ethics and morals, the moral values, the ethical principles are all common sense. Everybody knows it. You don't need somebody to come and teach the moral values. The moral values are are known to everybody. Even the thief who's stealing knows that stealing is wrong. He need not be told that don't steal, for he himself knows that stealing is wrong. How do you know that he himself knows that stealing is wrong? He will not walk in broad daylight and steal. He will come in the middle of the night. He does it in darkness. Why he does it in darkness? He knows that it is not an acceptable act. Correct? It doesn't stop here. It doesn't stop here. Carefully follow. The thief would not want somebody to come and steal his acquisition. Do you know that? A thief will not keep his safe open. A thief will not want, a thief number 1 will not want thief number 2 to come and steal his stuff. Correct? Have you ever observed that? Have you ever thought about it like that? It means he knows. So nobody needs to be taught morals and values. That's why Vedanta as a philosophy is not about morals and values, ethics and moralities. Are you able to follow? If you understand this nature of human being, you will know the fundamental distinction between Vedanta philosophy and what people generally misunderstand as philosophy. General misunderstanding about philosophy is ethics and morals. And ethics and morals are common sense. How do we say it is common sense? Because all moral laws, all ethical moral values are founded on one principle. What is that principle? That principle is what you don't want others to do to you, you don't do that to others. All values boils down to this root. That's all it is. You don't need a big, a very huge development of thought and all. What you don't want others to do to you, you don't do that to another. That's all. It is common sense. So, but the trouble with people is we do not know how to prevent ourselves from doing that. We know that we should not be doing it, but we do not know how to stop ourselves from doing that. Vedanta comes and helps you there. That's where Vedanta is a different philosophy altogether. It doesn't say steal or don't steal. It says that is known already, but there is a force in you. In verse number 37, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 37, Arjuna asks this question. 37 is the answer. Beautiful answer. 36 is the question. In verse number 36, chapter 3, Arjuna asks this question. Beautiful question. Krishna, I know what you are teaching. I know that I should not run away from. I know that I should not run away from the battlefield. And yet there is a force that is, there is an inner force in me that is pushing me to do it. And I am so helpless against that. And I am so helpless against that force. Tell me, how do I handle? Tell me, how do I handle that? What the philosophy that you are teaching, Krishna, I know it already. A beautiful question. Beautiful question. Verse number 36, chapter 3, Arjuna's question. And verse number 37, extraordinary answer. Verse number 37, chapter 3, extraordinary answer. Kamayesha Krodayeshaha Rajoguna Samudbhavaha, he says. Kamayesha Krodayeshaha Rajoguna Samudbhavaha. Papmanam. This drives you to do this. This drives you to do this sin. Vedanta, as a philosophy, comes and tells you that Raga Dvesha are the enemies. Other systems says how to fulfill the Raga Dvesha and not hurt others also. Vedanta comes and says, don't make an attempt to fulfill Raga Dvesha at all. For Raga Dvesha are the enemies. Why I am bringing all this is to explain how Vedanta as a philosophy is fundamentally different from, essentially fundamentally different from the rest. In that sense, he says, I alone am to be known through the many Vedas. The subject matter. I am the subject matter of all the Vedas. I am the subject matter of all the scriptures. The 4 Vedas. Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharva, Veda. These are the 4 Vedas. They contains the philosophy that guides the seeker to recognition of Aham Brahmasmi. They guide the seeker. They don't say what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. For you don't need Vedas to come and teach you that. You don't need Vedas to come and teach you what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. Every human being knows what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. The problem that human being faces is how to prevent myself from doing that which I consider as wrong. Are you able to follow? That is where most of the moral values we say is common sense. We don't use the word moral values, we use the word dharma. Why it is called as dharma? Dharma is if you want people to be affectionate to you, the dharma is you should be affectionate. But sir, I am affectionate, but nobody is affectionate to me. That will not happen. If you are affectionate, people will shower you with affection. You have to experience it. If you experience a little bit here and there, you will come to know how these are all the truths. But people's argument is, sir, I am very affectionate, but people are not affectionate. It doesn't work that way at all. If you want people to love you, you should love people. How you want people to love you? Unconditionally. You want people to love you unconditionally. Therefore, how you should love people? Unconditionally. That becomes the dharma. No, I want others to love me unconditionally, but I will have conditioned love. Vedanta comes in only here. This is the starting point of Vedanta. Vedanta comes in here and says, it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. You may try it. You may attempt it. You may try it, but it won't work. You able to follow? So, what is the subject matter? Subject matter of philosophy is not better life. Subject matter of philosophy is not ethical, moral life. It's not better life. The subject matter of Vedas is how to transcend it. How to know your true nature. How do you recognize your true nature? This is the subject matter. Not how to make life, better. In a relative plane, it teaches how to make life better also. Relatively, it says how to make life better. And how do you make life better? Freedom from ragadvesha. We come and say, the layperson come and says, no, 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 that is not betterment of life. Betterment of life means fulfilling my. Betterment of life means what, sir? Fulfilling my likes and dislikes, getting what I want and avoiding what I do not want is a better life. No. Vedanta says that kind of life doesn't exist. And more you work towards that kind of a life, you will be more frustrated. Why you will be more frustrated? Because that kind of life do not exist. Are you able to follow? So what is the subject matter? I alone to be known through many Vedas. Vedaihi anekaihi ahameva vedyah. The subject matter. So first is you need to be very clear on the subject matter and how Vedanta is unique. How Vedanta is unique. It's an independent pramanam which others, other pramanams do not talk about it at all. Other pramanam says, make life better. Vedanta says, make life better so that your ability to receive knowledge will be more. Therefore, make life better. And what is the knowledge? The knowledge of the Vedas. So, making life better is not an end in itself for Veda. A better life is not an end in itself for Vedas. For in a better life, the possibility of understanding Vedas is better. Therefore, better life becomes the means. Betterment of life becomes the means, but not the end. In all other systems, betterment of life becomes the end. That is the end. Vedanta says that is the means, not an end. It's a means. That is why we say this karma yoga, chitta shuddhi, all that, this karma yoga, the self-purification, self-management. We talk about self-management, no? What is self-management? Managing oneself, sir. What does managing oneself means? Managing your senses and your emotions. If you can manage, if you can keep your senses under control, if you can keep the 5 under control, it means you have self-management. What is self-management? But in the world, they use the word self-management, but what they mean is, are you able to see the difference? They also use the word self-management, but they don't use it in the way that it is used here. Vedanta says very clearly what is self-management. Self-development. Your 5 senses are under control. Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya is under manageable proportion. Means your life is, you can manage your life. If you can manage your senses and the 5, what is the 5? Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya. If you can manage your senses and this 5, you are a well-managed individual. This well-managed individual will be able to effectively manage anything outside. That's why even in the book called Governing Business and Relationship, he says the manager and the managed. Do not Vedanta talks about the manager, not how to manage. Manage means managing the external. Manager means the individual. So self-development, self-management, all means what? Management of senses and the emotions. Self-management means managing the senses and the emotions. But generally, we don't understand this as management. Management means we think how to control, how to manage the other. You cannot manage the other. You can only manage yourself. So external management is not possible at all. Internal management is 100% possible. So fundamental difference between Vedanta and other subjects. Other subject says manage yourself and manage others also, sir. Vedanta comes and says, no, you manage yourself and that's it. The person who knows how to manage oneself will know how to manage the external. Managing the external means what? Managing the external means unaffected by the external. That is what managing the external means. But what do we think managing the external means? Modifying, changing, molding the other in the way that we want to know. Yeah. That is where after some time we get very disillusioned in Vedanta, because we thought we can gather some knowledge from this and go and use it on the other and modify the other, change the other, do some work on the other. Vedanta says nothing can be done externally. Something can be done only internally. Are you able to follow? This is the subject matter of Vedas. This is the subject matter of Vedas. And also the subject matter is unique. What is the uniqueness of Vedanta, of Vedas? The Jiva Brahma Aikyam, the essential oneness of Jivatma and Paramatma, saying Tattvamasi to Aham Brahmasmi. From Tattvamasi to Aham Brahmasmi. So, I am the subject matter of all the Vedas and scriptures. Then he says that we need to know what is the subject matter of Vedas. He is saying, I am to be known, I am the subject matter. That's all the Guru is saying. What is that subject matter? I am picking it up and I am elaborating on that. What is the subject matter? What is the uniqueness of Vedanta? These are all the uniqueness of Vedanta. Other sciences say world can trouble you. Vedanta says world cannot trouble you. You trouble yourself. No, sir. It is not like that. If you live in my locality, you will know. If you live in the apartment where I am living, you will know that I don't trouble. It is others. It is the other that is troubling. It is very clear, sir. I don't trouble myself. Are you able to follow? All that Vedanta talks about is subtle. It is contradicting the Pratyaksha. The Pratyaksha says that world can trouble you. Your sensory experience and your physical experience in the world says the world can trouble you. Vedanta says world cannot trouble you. So it means you can safely take, what is the subject matter of Vedanta? All that you learn from the world, Vedanta is exactly the opposite. Exactly, the exact opposite. If everybody says manage the others, Vedanta says manage yourself. And then it talks about the laws. See, Agama payino nityaha tam titikshasva bharata. It is Agamapayinaha and Anityaha. What are you managing in that? They come and go, they are impermanent. What is the nature of the world? Agamapayinaha, they come and go. Not only they come and go, it is Anityam. Simply understand that, no, what is that you are managing in that? What is it that you are going to? What are you going to manage in that? Sitoshna Sukha Dukkadaha. The Sita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha, all that is Agamapayinaha Anityaha. What do you do? What do you do, Arjuna? You can't do anything. Practice. Tam Titikshasva Bharata. That is why in the Mari Pesi that's our science. India became poor. Science didn't develop in this country at all. See the Western world, they all have grown up so much. They have ACs, they have this, they have that. In the desert, they sell this much thick inches of blankets. Middle East. So why in desert you have to sell a blanket? Because all lives in 16 degrees, no. Outside maybe 45 degrees, 50 degrees. But inside is all 16 degrees, shivering, no. So you need to put the water. We have managed the external, no sir. Haven't we managed the external? Vedanta says, it appears to have managed the external, but what is happening to your mental state inside? When you are sitting inside that, what is your mental state? It is exactly the same. What has happened to your mental state? The mental state didn't change. What didn't change? The 5 didn't change. What is the 5? Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya didn't change. So quality life means, betterment of life means you not being a victim of these 5. You not being a victim of the senses. So the entire subject matter is completely different. Is it okay till now? The entire subject matter is completely different. That is why I always say, anyway, everybody is saying the same thing, no sir, in the world. All are saying the same thing, no? That's why I always say, I will interrupt and say, all are not saying the same thing. They are fundamentally, they are fundamentally different. They are fundamentally different. What is the fundamental difference? 2 diametrically opposite knowledges. So, I alone to be known through many Vedas means, what is the subject matter of Vedas? This is the subject matter of Vedas. I alone to be known. I am the maker of Vedanta. Vedanta Krit. Another beautiful. This whole mantra is beautiful. Each and every mantra I keep saying the same thing, but it doesn't matter. So it is a very Vedanta Krit. I am the maker of Vedanta. All that he's saying is very simple. I am the author, I am the teacher, I am the student, I am the content. If you really understand what he's saying, you will not want to read it again. Huh? All that he's saying is, I am the author. I am the teacher. I am the student. I am the content. Vedanta Krit means I am the author of the Vedas. When he says I am the author of the Vedas, the Guru takes the role of the God there, because we say it is God that has created. Brahman is the author of the Vedas. That is why we say Vedanta, Vedas is Anadi. Vedas came from Brahman. It is not that the human beings created Vedanta. Vedas is the knowledge that came out of Brahman itself. That's why the Puranic stories talks about Lord Brahma, the creator, creating the world using Vedas as the, he created the world using the Vedas as the material. It means Vedas existed before. Vedas was in existence even before Lord Brahma. If it was existing even before Lord Brahma, means it was there even before creation. It means enlightened person can say, are you able to follow why he is saying that? It says, I am the author. Vedanta Krit. Vedanta Krit. It is perfectly correct to say, the Guru can say, I am the author of Vedanta. Why he can say, I am the author of Vedanta? Because of his enlightenment, because of his stature, declares himself as the author of the sacred text. Only an enlightened person can produce Vedanta. Nobody else can produce Vedanta. In that sense, who's the author? Enlightened person is the author. In that sense, he says, I am the author. Taking the role of the Guru, he will say, I am the teacher of the Vedas. Taking the role of the Guru, he says, the enlightened person says, I am the teacher of the Vedas. Okay, who's the student? Who's the student? Another Brahman sitting there not knowing that it is Brahman. That is the student. Who is the student there? Not an ignorant person. Who is the student there? See, this is Vedanta. Huh? It is so complete. Who is the student? Student is also Brahman. Only difference is this knows, that doesn't know. That's all. So this person makes that person know. That's all the differences. So, I am the student of the Vedas. I am the author. I am the teacher. I am the student. What is the content? It's also me. I am the content. Same words Krishna uses in Bhagavad Gita. He says, Vedanta Krit. He says, I am the author of Vedas. I am the author of Vedanta. Exact same words he uses in Bhagavad Gita. In 13th chapter, in 15th chapter, he uses the same, exact same words. I. Sarvam Brahmamayam is Vedas. Sarvam Brahmamayam. Directly or indirectly, it doesn't matter. It is only you know it, you don't know it, you agree, you don't agree, you accept, you don't accept. Everything is Brahman only. In that sense, it is I alone to be known through Vedas. I am the maker of Vedanta and I alone the knower of Vedas. I alone the knower of Vedas. Now, what is that Vedas mean? What does the knower of Vedas means? Every knowing has three. We have seen it any number of times. All knowledge knows the knower, the known, the process of knowing, the instrument. The subject, the object, and the interaction between the subject and the object by the medium of the instruments. He says, in this three, what are you? In this three, what are you? All three is me. That's where it gets difficult to if it says only the subject you is Brahman and the object is separate, it's easy to fail. Why it is difficult is because there are three. And if he says of the three, who? In Sanskrit, it's called Triputi. Triputi means the three. The subject, the object, the interaction between the subject and the object. The Pramata, the Pramanam, the Prameyam. The Jnata, the Jnanam, the Jneyam. So many words. Allang summa words. Upanishad padikumbodhu in the words allang we should know. Pramata, Pramanam, Prameyam. Jnata, Jnanam, and Jneyam. They're words. In the Vedanta Shastra, it's called Triputi. Triputi means three. And all these three coexist always. All these three coexist always. All these three keep interacting with each other always. In these three, where are you? In these three, where are you? Logically, you have to say in the subject, no? See, logically, you will say in the subject. Vedanta says, you are in the subject, you are the knower, you are the known, and you are the instruments that links links both. So the I pervades the Triputi. The I pervades. In that sense, I alone, the knower of Vedas. Here the word knowing has to be understood in the sense of subject, object, and the interaction between the subject and the object. Are you able to follow? Just as the mind is the subject, the mind is the object, the mind is that which connects the subject and the object in the dream. All aspects of the mind is all aspects of the dream is mind. Just as how all aspects of the dream is the mind, the Brahman becomes the waker, the dreamer, the deep sleeper, the subject, the object. I am the one to be known. Through what? Through Veda Vakyas. I am the one to be known. Look at that. I am the one to be known. Through what? Through the Veda Vakyas. Veda with. I am the knower of Vedas and Vedanta Krit. I am the revealer of Vedanta. What he's saying is, I am the revealer. And the revealer is a guru, the Acharya. The guru, the Acharya. And what is the status of that Acharya? Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Mundakopanishad, we have seen that. Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. A very very high stance he takes in relation to the highest knowledge itself, and saying everything related to the knowledge is also me. And then he quickly tones it down and comes to the normal level. What is the normal level? Merit and demerit are not for me, nor death, birth, body, senses, and intellect. That we will discuss now. Are you okay? The first statement. I alone to be known through Vedas. I am the maker of Vedanta, and I alone the knower of Vedas. That is clear. Now he comes down and says, merit and demerit. Na punyam, na papam. In Atma Shatakam, also known as Nirvana Shatakam, he says, na punyam, na papam, na saukyam, na dukkham, na mantro, na tirtham, na vedha, na yajnaha, aham bhojanam, naiva bhojyam, na bhoktaha, chidananda rupaha, shivoham, shivoham. In Nirvana Shatakam, verse 4, na punyam, na papam. Shankaracharya takes the hints from these Upanishads and wrote that. Na punyam na papam. I have neither virtue nor vice. See, as I said in the beginning, punyam and papam, virtue and vice is a product of action. One type of action gives you virtue, another kind of action gives you vice. So, papam and punyam is in relation to the action. Vedanta says, as long as you believe that you are the doer, you will be affected by papam and punyam. If you have the sense of doership, kartrutva, as long as you have kartrutva, you will be affected by papa and punya. Because the doer is the doer of action who is arrogating the action to himself, and one who arrogates the action to himself will necessarily have to experience the consequences of that action. Na punyam na papam means he takes the stance of saying no kartrutva. I am not the doer. That is why the wise one says, when he is going through a very pleasurable situation, he says, some punya, the body is going through that. A painful situation, some sin, the body is going through this. I have nothing to do with it, he says. Are you able to follow? But what is the ignorance way? We say, when something good happens, I want to take. When something good happens, kartrutva bhavana wants to take full credit for that. When something bad happens, we want to shift it to the other. Are you able to see the difference? When success happens, kartrutva says, I am the doer. When failure happens, all these people didn't do. If all of them have done their things rightly, success would have. So, failure, it is with the others. Success, it is with me. This is kartrutva bhavana. So, papam and punyam means virtue and vice is for those who has kartrutva. For a person who says, I am not the doer, I am the enlivener. For the person who takes the stance that the instruments does it, I am only the enlivener. What punyam and papam he will have? No punyam, no papam. Are you able to follow? Punyam and papam is in relation to the action not done according to the rules. If actions are done according to the rules, punyam. If actions are done against the rules, papam, agitation. That's all. And what decides the action? What decides the action? Who decides the action? Your own likes and dislikes. You decide the action. Since you decide the, are you able to follow? You decide the action based on your likes and dislikes. You will have papam and punyam. Are you able to follow? To put it very simply, the roads are made. The roads are made. Does the road decide the destination or the traveler decides the destination? Who decides the destination? The road doesn't decide. The road doesn't decide. The government that makes the road doesn't decide that. You decide your destination. If you follow the road rules and travel, you will reach the destination. So destination is decided by you. The rules are set. Are you able to follow? You don't decide, others don't decide the destination for you. You decide your destination. Just as I sit in the car, I don't ask the road. Enga ponu? I will not ask the road, though I am using the road. I am using the road, but the road doesn't decide my destination. So I decide the destination. And just because I have decided the destination doesn't mean I can do. Here comes the rule of life, the law of life. Destination is yours, but the rules are decided by you. The rules are decided by a more powerful authority. A more powerful authority. What is that? Just because you want to reach the destination, you can't travel in one way. Just because you want to reach the destination, you can't violate the, you can't say my destination and I will reach it in the way that I want. Okay, you have your destination. To that extent, you have the freedom. But the path to the destination is governed by, the path to the destination is governed by rules and regulations. So you choose your destination and make sure that you follow the rules and regulations to reach your destination. Correct? Idana life. This is what life is all about. Correct? This is what life is all about. If you follow the rules and regulations, you get punyam. If you violate it, you get sin, papam, the fine. Why go through all these difficulties? You have to go through all these difficulties because you have a destination. No. Imagine a person who doesn't have any destination. He is not bound by. A person who doesn't have any destination to reach is not bound by any rules and regulations. A person who is not bound by those rules and regulations are free from papam and punyam. And what does the destination means? Destination means ragadvesha. What is destination? Destination means ragadvesha. You want to achieve something. You want something to come to you. You don't want something to come to you. You want to reach one place. You do not want to reach some other place. This is the destination. So you can't blame the regulations, the road rules and regulations. Whom do you have to blame? You have to blame your own self because destination is yours. Vedanta comes and says, This Raga Dvesha as a destination that you keep, that you have to achieve something, you have to attain something, all that is fallacious by nature. And if you don't understand this, you will be a victim of punyam and papam. Here he says, I am the enlivener. I am the petrol in the car. I am the enlivener. Papam and punyam is not for me. Able to follow? A very, very practical advice, this. Na punyam, na papam. It's a very practical way to handle the affairs of life, even relatively speaking. You understand that you are going through this because you wanted it. For a person who doesn't want to travel anywhere, he will not be bound by the rules and regulations. He need not worry about the one-way traffic. He need not worry about switching the lanes. He need not worry about anything. Why? Because he doesn't have to reach anywhere. Don't take it literally. He doesn't have to attain anything. Able to follow? If you believe that you have to achieve something, if you believe that you have to attain something, you will be a victim of papam and punyam. And Vedanta Kamman says, Brahmatvam, Brahman is not, that is, you are not going to attain it, you are that already. That's how you are free from papam, and that's how Vedanta makes you free from papam and punyam. And in very beautifully Nirvana Shatakam, he says, na punyam, na papam, na saukyam, na dukkam. And then the last thing he says is, Dehendriya buddhihi nasti. Body, senses, intellect do not exist for me. Nasti, nasti. Nasti means nasti. Adha Madras Bhashala kuda nasti panniduvanu. Yeah, they say that, no? They say nasti panniduvanu, but they say nasti panniduvanu, illada panniduvanu artham. Nasti. I will make sure that you don't. That nasti is a Sanskrit word. Huh? It's a Sanskrit word, it is. And அது ஒரு தனி செஷன். அதில் அது வந்து ரெக்கார்டிங்லாம் பண்ணக்கூடாது இல்லையா? இல்லையா, மெட்ராஸ்ல நிறைய ஃபவுல் லாங்குவேஜ் எல்லாம் சன்ஸ்கிரிட் பியூட்டிஃபுல் வேர்ட்ஸா. குடாக்கு அப்படின்னா இல்லையா, குடாகேஷ இல்லையா, குடாகேஷ. அந்த குடாகேஷால ஈஷாவாக்கு எடுத்தாச்சுன்னா குடாக்கத். குடாக்குன்னா தூங்கு மூஞ்சின்னு அர்த்தம் இல்லையா. சரியான குடாக்கு பாவம் அப்படியே இல்லையா. குடாக்குன்னா என்ன? The fellow who is all the time, you look at that fellow looks like he has overslept and woken up just now. Yeah, munje paatale we say tunge elda madiri irukudhu, we say no. That if you oversleep and you wake up, there will be a dullness in the face. You have the right sleep and wake up, there will be a freshness in the face. Yeah, freshness in the face. Budakana enna artham? The fellow who has overslept, moonjilam bus nai. You look at that fellow, you feel like giving him one type. Why I am saying that is, one day, correct, Vijay is sitting here, no? Correct. One day he was driving me from, இப்போ அந்த இது வந்ததுக்கு அப்புறம், இப்போ இந்த ஆன்லைன்ல வந்ததுக்கு அப்புறமா என்டர்டெயின்மெண்ட்டே இல்லாத, நோ என்டர்டெயின்மெண்ட் அட் ஆல். Otherwise free entertainment. So we were Vijay was driving me from the morning Gita class mudichittu. Vijay, you remember, you were driving back. When we were crossing that Nageshwar Rao Park, there was a fight. Yeah. 15 fellows are watching the fight. Yeah. And the wife beating the husband black and correct, appa? Husband not beating the wife. The wife is twisting the arms and whacking the fellow, abusing with the words. I told Vijay, "Oru nimisham car stop pannupa." I said, Why? Yeah, why? Vijay, you remember now? Now he's remembering. Now he's remembering. I told Vijay, stop on the car. No, stop that. Stop the car. 1 minute. Correct. I said, stop. Why? No. Vedanta, Vijnana, we are getting all the foul words. 35 years. No, we used all these 35 years. I didn't even, we stopped using those words. Didn't even hear that. Wonderful. Janma Dehendriya Buddhi Nasti. Nasti means na asti. Then on the way back, I was telling Vijay, இந்த வார்த்தைக்கு இதான் அர்த்தம், இந்த வார்த்தைக்கு இதான் மீனிங். Oh, correct. He remember. He saying, oh, you know the meaning. Oh, in the meaning la you know Acharya. I said, where do you think we lived from? We lived in the same place. No, we didn't descend from heaven. We are also lived in the same. So we know what's the meaning. Janma Dehendriya Buddhi na asti. Also, what doesn't exist? Death and birth. I'm not going into the details of this because we are seeing it any number of times. Birth and death. Birth and death exist for one who has. If birth and death is there for a person who has sanchita. If you have lot of sanchita vasanas, you have to go through births again and again. Birth and death means sanchita karma. No birth and death means no sanchita karma. I have no sanchita. Since I have no sanchita karma, I have no birth and death. Body, senses and intellect. And what is the body, senses and intellect means? No, in relation to the action, no kartrutvam. Therefore, freedom from punyam and papam. In relation to the instruments, there is no mamatvam. Therefore, there is no body, senses and intellect. Again, I repeat. In relation to the actions, kartrutvam makes you a victim of punyam and papam. In relation to the instruments, mamatvam. Kartrutvam, mamatvam. Mamatvam means mine. My body. My idea. My emotion. So he says, I have no sanchita, I have no kartrutva, I have no mamakara. No kartrutva, no mamakara, no sanchita. That's what it means. That he says in a beautiful mantra form. Vedaihi anekaihi ahameva vedyah vedanta krit veda videva chaham na punya pape mama nasti nashah na janma dehendriya na buddhirasti na asti. All these do not exist for me. No sanchita for me, no kartrutva for me. Since there is no kartrutva, no punyam and papam, no mamakaram. Therefore, there is no body, senses and intellect. When he says body, senses and intellect, you have to take it as everything. The body, the senses, all the 5 koshas. You have to take it as all the 5 koshas. With this, we conclude mantra 22. And one more mantra, which is mantra 23. Part 1 of Kaivalya will be concluded. And then part 2 is only 2 mantras, which are some practical sadhanas he gives there. some practical sadhanas he gives in part 2. So with this, we conclude mantra 22. The next session, we start with mantra 23. Hari Om. Thank you.